Hey, it's Kyle here, and today's video topic is a little bit darker than normal, but I'm going to focus on three of my favorite books that focus on acts of murder. Um, I should say I'm not a huge true crime genre fan. That's not really types of books I read that often, but some other genres I do read sometimes involve that aspect of it. And here's three of these books that I have honestly really enjoyed. So maybe if you're really into true crime or books about murder or darker subject matters, I should say, maybe these books will appeal to you. So first off is one of my favorite nonfiction books of all time, The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. Love this book so much. It's about the events around the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893. Half the book kind of focuses on the World's Fair element, the people behind the developing of it, everything that went into it, the struggles, the politics behind the scenes, all the groundbreaking things that happened at the World's Fair that impacted today's world. The other half of the book focuses on one of the most brutal, cold-blooded killers in American history, who basically built a hotel in Chicago to be his own murder lair and killed countless of people during the World's Fair. When you're reading, especially that part of it, you kind of like, I wish this was a fiction book because I would feel better about it, but knowing that this guy actually exists and he did it is chilling, but at the same time it is a very fascinating read. Like I said, one of my favorite nonfiction books of all time. I would certainly recommend The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. Next up is the book that for a lot of people will actually give credit of starting the true crime genre, or at least making it very popular. And that is Inco Blood by Truman Capote. This is probably the only really true crime book that I've ever written that kind of falls in that genre. The reason I even read it is, if many people probably do know it, some people don't. Truman Capote and Harper Lee were childhood friends. If Harper Lee's name sounds familiar and you can't place it, she's the author of To Kill a Mockingbird, one of my favorite books of all time. And Truman Capote is actually one of the characters in To Kill a Mockingbird. So I had grown up knowing this, and I also knew that Harper Lee, before she got famous, helped edit Inco Blood. And I was like, I want to check this out. I want to read it. And really glad I did. Again, this one is another one. All three of these books really disqualifies for this. It's very chilling to read about, but Inco Blood is about this brutal murder, and let me make sure I have the right date. Yep, 1959, of a family in Kansas that really did get nationwide attention. So much so that Truman Capote, who lived in New York, decided to go to Kansas and write a book about it. And to me, the fascinating part of this book is not, I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this. It's the fact that this book focuses more on not who did it, because at the beginning of the book they basically reveal this is who did it. And what makes sense, because when Truman Capote was writing this was a very famous event, so everybody in America already kind of knew who did it because the people had already been caught. So he did not focus on that. Instead, he focused more on why they did it, and it's a very fascinating look at the psychology of people that commit such a brutal act and what led them to that. You know, he explores their entire life. For guys, there's something here that made him do this later in life. It's an amazing book, so fascinating. I've actually read it a couple times. This is definitely a book I would recommend if you're typically not into true crime. This is a book you might want to check out because it is so well written. I think that's sometimes the put down of true crime is sometimes it's not the highest quality of writing and stuff like that. It's not, true amazing authors that are doing that genre. It's more journalists who are just writing, pretty much putting the facts out there. Or Truman Capote was an amazingly talented author who just happened to write a book about true crime. So I would definitely recommend Inco Blood. by Truman Capote, and again, like the first book, a very chilling book because you know this actually happened. And then lastly, this is a book I read in college in a political science class, which you might ask, like, how did you end up reading a book about murder in a political science class? Well, that's because it involved the ruling royal dynasty of Nepal. It is The Massacre at the Palace, the Doomed Royal Dynasty of Nepal, by Jonathan Gregson. If you're not familiar with the events of this, which I think most people in America are really not, up until fairly recently, Nepal was ruled by absolute monarchy, and the monarchy was very popular in Nepal. It wasn't really questioned. This all kind of changed when a disgruntled prince, member of the royal family, who was just fed up with his life, couldn't stand his family, was obviously having several mental issues, basically took a machine gun and pretty much killed the vast majority of the royal family in the palace. And this completely shook the nation of Nepal, because before that, the royal family was viewed as divine. They were godlike. They could not be questioned. And this one event kind of changed that, because basically it really put to the forefront to the people in Nepal, like, if a member of the royal family can do this, they're not divine, they're not godlike, they're just humans. They're just real people like me and you, and obviously they have some issues. At least certain members of the family had issues. And very quickly after this, the royal family was no longer in charge of Nepal, and it was over. So it's very fascinating to read this book, how this one mass shooting event within the royal family completely changed the history of Nepal. So this one, I'd say, like, if you're a little bit more into political science, or maybe that part of the world, if you're really interested in Asia, South Asia, India, Nepal, Burma, places like that, this book will be very fascinating. And honestly, when you read this book, you just don't really think about a member of the royal family in today's modern world massacring the remainder of the royal family. So this book, when you read it, really does feel like, well, this has to be like a fiction book. And I can't imagine a prince, walking into a palace today in another country and just killing the entire family, not to seize control, but just as a mass shooting event. It just doesn't seem like that would be something that really would happen, but it did happen, and it happened in Nepal. So those are the 3 books I wanted to highlight that I've really enjoyed a lot, that are focused on murder. So if you're not into books with darker subject matters, I completely understand. These books are probably not for you. But if any of these kind of piqued your curiosity a little bit, I would highly recommend them. They're all fascinating books. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you have yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Hope to see you the next time, and happy reading.